Thank you for having me. So I'm going to share some recent work by the Ethereum Foundation on OpenAC. This is a framework for anonymous credentials and digital ID. Much of this work is motivated by the age verification requirements that are becoming widespread across the US as well as the EU. And very often, these age verification requirements are fulfilled using identity credentials that are not privacy preserving. So, for example, the SD-JET is a very commonly used credential format. It is more or less equivalent to the MDL mobile driver's license. And these credential formats enable a very weak property called selective disclosure, but they stop short of enabling unlinkability. And what this means is that even if we do not disclose the plain text value of our credential, we allow the verifier, the relying party, to identify us across multiple presentations and link multiple presentations to the same person. And for the purposes of gathering metadata about how and when and where a credential is presented, the current credential formats are unsatisfactory. In 2024, a group of cryptographers pointed this out to the EU Commission and suggested to replace these credential formats with a well-known primitive, anonymous credentials. So at a very high level, anonymous credentials allows the issuer to use their current signature and credential format, but at the same time enables the holder to make claims about this credential in an unlinkable way. And we've heard multiple times in this session about zero knowledge proofs. That's the underlying primitive here that enables us to conceal the plain text of the credential, but at the same time convince some relying party that it satisfies certain predicates on a subset of its attributes. So there's been a line of work they're instantiating anonymous credentials using different zero knowledge proof primitives. And the work at the Ethereum Foundation is the latest in this line of work. And here I've linked our reference implementation as well as a table summarizing its performance in comparison to previous schemes. So really, depending on the deployment context and depending on the restrictions of the user device, we may be interested in different metrics. So what we've focused on here is minimizing the proving latency such that at presentation time, the holder can experience a seamless UX. So right now, most of the work has been moved to pre-computation and setup, leaving the prover with only 102 milliseconds of work at presentation time. So I won't get into the details of how these schemes differ on the cryptographic primitives, but suffice to say that there's different points in the trade-off space that you may be interested depending on your requirements. And another Another metric of interest would be the requirements on storage and memory. So if your device is mainly memory constrained or storage constrained, but not compute constrained, then you may want you may want a smaller proof setup with a longer proving time. So yeah, I think what's important for most of this work is dialogue with regulators, policymakers, and standards bodies. So here you can see a table mapping requirements in the EU Commission's high-level requirements for EU digital identity. Mapping these requirements to the features and affordances in our OpenAC framework. And that's one gap we found in many academic papers is it's missing this translation from the cryptographic affordances to regulatory requirements. So I've linked here our paper, and I hope that this is in the annex, and I hope it will be helpful for those coming from policy side. The last sort of effort that is crucial here is standards. So making sure that these schemes fulfill the security requirements and privacy requirements needed to make them work in these schemes. So we're working with the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust Labs to set up a standardization lab for generic ZK snarks. And I've put the link here. We're having an online meetup on January 14th. So please reach out if you're interested in learning more about standards for ZK snarks. I think there's a lot of work that remains. So the anonymous credential primitive is just one piece of the whole digital ID infrastructure. And it may not be suitable in every use case. So a more careful taxonomy of use cases and a more careful threat modeling or identifying their requirements would be very helpful. I think exploring other parts of the digital ID infrastructure is also really important. For example, we need public registries to host these canonical databases of issuers, verifiers, relying parties, and just public data, DID infrastructure. So the Ethereum blockchain is one venue for this that is credibly neutral. So this was a summary of our work at OpenAC. Lots of work remains to be done. Please reach out if you're interested in contributing. If you have any feedback, if you have any requirements that we haven't addressed, future directions you're interested in exploring, and especially in contributing to the standards effort. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ying Tong, for sharing that with us.